Hi everyone. Today we are going to look at 1 Samuel chapter 19. I'm going to bring out some truths from this chapter. What happens in this chapter is Saul is wanting to kill David. Jonathan comes to know about it, and Jonathan acts as an advocate for David to Saul. It is a beautiful interaction between Jonathan and Saul, his father, in 19 verses 1 to 7. And he goes and he tells good about David and the good nature of David, and he points out the sin of Saul and advocates for David and brings David back into the palace. So when I read these portions, it is amazing that I am reminded of what Apostle John says in 1 John chapter 2 verse 1. Right? Apostle John writes, "My little children, do not sin." And then he says, "If anyone sins, we have an advocate with the Father," right? The righteous one, Jesus Christ, who brings us back to the Father. Imagine, when I'm in sinful condition, I have an advocate with the Father, and the Father is good, and I am being brought to the Father by the finished work of Christ, by the advocate, Jesus Christ himself. Right? So here David was good, but Saul was bad, but Jonathan acted as an advocate, and he brought David to Saul. That is the first portion that I wanted to kind of bring out. And the second truth that I wanted to talk about it in this chapter, David goes for war in 19 verse 8, right? And he kills many Philistines. And the news comes to Saul, and then he is provoked in his jealousy. He is stirred up in his anger, right? That reminds me of what Paul says in Ephesians chapter 4 verse 26. "Be angry, do not sin. Let your anger go down before the sun sets." It is very, very important, right? The news comes to my ears that David killed many Philistines, and there is an envy that is being stirred up in me, and I have to be very careful that the envy or anger in my home which comes to me and it goes down before the sun sets down. Listen, very careful. In Ephesians 4:27, what Apostle Paul says, if you don't bury the anger, and then it is as good as that you have given place to the devil. Right? Look at what happens in Saul's life in 19 verse 9. Then an evil spirit from the Lord came to Saul. Right? Could Saul have buried the envy? He could have. And he is stirred up by the evil spirit, and then he takes the spear and he is wanting to kill David, and he wants to kill David by somehow. Right? So David, this is the third point that I want to communicate. David runs and he goes to Samuel in Naioth, close to Ramah. And as they are there together, Samuel and David, and Saul sends soldiers 3 times to kill David. And whenever the soldiers comes to Naioth, and they began to prophesy. It is an atmosphere where God's people are there. It is an atmosphere where the Spirit of God is very strong. And the soldiers who bring the spear to kill David, and they drop the spears down, and they begin to prophesy. And then finally, Saul says to himself that at this time I will go and kill David. And he comes to Ramah, and he comes close to Naioth, and he also begins to prophesy. That reminds me of another verse which Apostle Paul speaks about it in Ephesians 1:21 to 23. Right? So he talks about church in a beautiful way. He says it is the place of authority, number 1. Then he says it is the place where the life flows from the head. Right? Don't you want to be in that place? And then he says it is the place where God's fullness, which fills all things in every way, and the fullness is present in the church. Right? So sometimes I could be like Saul with an envious spirit, with a spirit of anger, and the moment I come to Naioth, or the moment I come to the place where God's fullness is there, I could even drop my spear down and probably worship God. Right? So these are the 3 points that I wanted to bring from the teachings of 1 Samuel chapter 19. So God bless you. Have a great day.